Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Educated Colon Slam channel. How you doing? So today we're going to be talking about Phoenix Force, the new series season pass. Finally, going to do the full review and whether you should get this card or not. It did get a buff halfway through the season. It was not performing well according to Second Dinner, so they decided to buff up the card, make it even stronger, and now we can kind of review it from there. So, would I recommend? Should you buy? That kind of thing. So, first of all, we're just gonna have the answer. My current thoughts is that you don't buy the card unless you like destroy decks, you like move decks, or you like unique deck tech counters. Then maybe, right? So it's not a guaranteed yes, because there are reasons we're gonna go over in terms of like, even though you might like move decks, it doesn't necessarily mean, oh yeah, then I would recommend getting the card. It's still a maybe. You still have to analyze. But my base assessment for most players is no, don't get the card. I think there's a lot of weaknesses, I guess, that prevent it from being like top tier, top of the table. But it's an okay card. But let's talk about it in particular. So Phoenix Force is a 4 mana, 4 energy, 5 power card with the Honor of Veal revive one of your destroyed cards and merge with it. So that card can move each turn. So there are some limitations. If you don't have a destroyed card, you don't target anything. And if you don't have a destroyed card, you can't move as well. So you have to be playing some type of destroyed deck to take advantage of the effect. It's not like Vision, where Vision you played, you can move each turn. This one you played, you can move each turn, but if you don't have a destroyed target, you don't get the move effect. So there are some limitations. It's not like one-to-one comparison, but it does have some usefulness. Obviously, it synergizes with move and destroyed decks. So move decks, you can take a copy of a card that synergizes with move and then move yourself every turn. Destroyed decks usually kill things for free. They don't get their power back, so you can revive that on your board. It can revive units killed by Shang-Chi's like a tech counter, where let's say you think someone's going to Shang-Chi you, you can just play the Phoenix Force, and that gives me an idea of a deck to build. Actually, that gives me an idea. You could play a Darkhawk deck, where since you can go Dino on 5, or you could go Darkhawk on 5, and as long as you don't have priority, turn 6 you could go Phoenix Force plus Rock Slide or whatever you're going to do on the final turn, right? And that could be an idea. Since it's on 4, now it could work with Zabu, but that's not common deck that people are playing right now. No one's playing it, but it's an idea in my head. Like, oh, if you're gonna do that, anyways, that is an idea. One of the benefits of Phoenix Force. Another thing, it's a tricky to know where the power will be placed in the final turn. Since you can move each turn, you don't have that guarantee of, oh, they're going to play their power in this lane or play their power in that lane. You really don't know, since they're usually moving. And usually it means they're playing in multiple lanes, right? A lot of times you're copying multiple men. So pretty tricky card as well. Some of the weaknesses is that it relies on other cards to be useful. So if you don't have other cards, it's just a 4 mana 5, which is pretty weak and not very threatening. So if you don't have destroy effects, same thing. Pretty weak, not very threatening. It doesn't have a lot of powerful synergies. Now there are some of the move cards, multiple man, dagger, human torch. Those type of cards are pretty powerful, but generally, I wouldn't necessarily say it has the most powerful synergies straight up. So it has that kind of weakness. And then the strategy is somewhat telegraphed. So if you're going multiple man into Carnage or multiple man into Venom, like, it's not something you'll do normally. That is not a play you'll see people doing casually. So you pretty much always know when someone's going to do a Phoenix Force play on you. So that kind of makes it a little bit weaker, because maybe if they have a Cosmo, they can be like, oh, they're going to Phoenix Force turn 4 every time, and then, or they're going to Shuri turn 4 every time. Let me try to, pick the lane they're likely to play in. So there's definitely some issues with it being so telegraphed. And then the supplemental pieces are inconsistent if you don't draw a Phoenix Force. So if you're just playing multiple man and Carnage, no Phoenix Force. You're carnaging your multiple man. You don't have the Phoenix Force. You're doing nothing. It's your board state is very bad if you don't get the full combo off. So if Phoenix Force is bottom half of your deck or something like that, it's just a struggle to win the games because your combos don't really work that well by themselves. So that's kind of an issue as well. So there are some weaknesses for Phoenix Force, which make it a little bit rough. Now, some of the decks you can play: multiple man decks, Shuri decks, Nimrod decks, and pure destroy decks. But I did say that it's a maybe. So the reason why it's a maybe is because you don't really need Phoenix Force to play a good move deck. You don't need Phoenix Force to play a good destroy deck. You don't need Phoenix Force to have a good tech counter deck, anything like that. So it's more of a supplemental piece you can play if it feels fun to you, if you want to do it, and it's not something like Hid Monkey before. When I had a very similar video, I was like, if you want to play a bounce deck, Hid Monkey is really core. So I would say yes. If you want to play a bounce deck, absolutely. But here, it's not core. You don't need to play Phoenix Force at all. So if you just want to save your resources, you just want to have really powerful decks, then this is a card you can easily skip and not feel too bad about. I'm not sure they're going to. Well, I'm not sure changing the numbers will solve that much in Phoenix Force, right? You need to add more cards to synergize with it. And we know what cards are coming in the next couple of months, and none of them really. Some of them do jump out, but a lot of the cards that synergize don't need to. You don't need Phoenix Force either in those decks that you'd make with those cards that could synergize. So either way, it's not a card that you have to go out of your way to get. If you get it randomly or get through the spotlight, sure. But I wouldn't recommend use your tokens on it or go out your way buy the season pass if you don't want to spend. So that's my reason why it's a maybe. You could get them. They're not. It's not bad. Like your deck. I don't know if your deck is worse, but like you can have it in your account and it's fine. It's not actively hurting you, but it's not something I would go out of your way to get. But there are still some decks to play with Phoenix Force, of course. If you already have it, you bought the season pass, you just want to play with it, maybe you want to do the weekend missions, then I have a couple decks to kind of give you some advice. I wouldn't say they're all super, super strong, obviously, but they can work, right? Obviously, I'm looking for decks that can do work. And I haven't suggested my Darkhawk version, but then it's Darkhawk carrying you, not the Phoenix Force, right? So it's not really a Phoenix Force deck if I did that. But yeah, first one is multiple Phoenix. So this is like the true most common Phoenix Force deck that works. I would say it you kind of just copy multiple man or Human Torch, and you're just moving those around, getting lots of copies of them. That's kind of the game plan. And you have the Shuri to combo into the Phoenix Force. So you go Shuri into Phoenix Force. Phoenix Force revives the multiple man, and then you just have a huge multiple man that you're getting multiple copies of. So some people do run it with Iron Fist. Some people do run it with Heimdall, and that's like the second list. It's the same list, but instead of running, I believe, one of the destroyers, instead of running Deathlock, you have an Iron Fist. You can definitely run Heimdall as well. So just a lot of the most common versions of Phoenix Force builds are just this list with some adjustments. So either you're running Heimdall, Iron Fist, other moves, Dagger, whatever. But that's like the main Phoenix Force build people are running and having success with. Now, next up, we do have Thanos with Phoenix Force. So this is more of just the Thanos version of Destroy, the classic Destroy. But instead of running an extra Destroy, you're running Phoenix Force instead. So it does get to use Wave, which is a pretty nice card. Generally, that does a lot of work. But overall, it's just a Destroy deck. But instead of playing more Destroy pieces, you just have Phoenix Force in there, which is fine. Perfectly fine. The thing is, a lot of times you're reviving a stone. That's the one thing I've noticed in this deck. A lot of times you're reviving the stone, which can be okay because the stone will give you draw. The stone could give you other effects as well, but it's not like super core that you need to get a one drop stone. Like it just turns it into a 4/6, which is like not that impressive. Next up, this is Destroy without the Thanos. So this is just more classic Destroy. But instead of running Shang-Chi, you're basically running Phoenix. That's like the main difference. Instead of running Shang-Chi, you just have Phoenix. Is it necessarily broken having Phoenix? No, but sometimes you can hit something pretty cool with the Venom. You go Venom and you eat something powerful and then you revive it back. Is generally the idea. But overall, it's not like crazy powerful. And then the last one we do have is Nimrod Phoenix. So this one just uses Nimrod as a secondary win condition. So you can go Shuri into Nimrod, Shuri into Phoenix Force, and you also take advantage of magic being super cheap right now. So you can go magic on 3, Shuri on 4, Phoenix Force and Nimrod on 5, and you can go Zola into Null or Null into Zola, depending on how you want to do it. So that's cool. The only issue is like the Phoenix Force can be a little awkward if you're going magic, because you need to if you don't have the destroy, then the Phoenix Force doesn't work, right? So if you're going magic, you're probably slowing it down and going magic into Venom, into Shuri, into Phoenix. So you do have to be aware of that, but the idea seems cool and can definitely work out there. But overall, that's my thoughts on Phoenix Force. It's not a super core card that you need to be playing around. And if you don't really love move decks, you don't really love destroy decks, this is not a season that you have to spend on. So hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope this was informative. Take care of yourselves and have a wonderful rest of your day. Can you hear that? There's like a car. Nah, you guys can't hear it. What am I saying? Once you watch him, you won't go back. He'll teach you tomorrow, snap. Your skills will be improving. How you doing? You'll hit infinity and won't go back. Educated, call and snap.